Hey everybody, and welcome back to the third and final video in what is now being known as the Arthur Sign Trilogy. So here's the deal. My name is Jared Bendis, and in the last two videos I did a whole lot of Illustrator and then a whole lot more Illustrator to try to create, from varying pieces of clip art, a multi-layered sign that we later then cut on a Glowforge. Want to go over the last bits of it with you right now so you get a sense of what the completion of it is. On the left, what you see here was my original sketch. This is actually done using Photoshop. I brought the piece in Photoshop to see kind of roughly what I think things would look like when I did this. And of course, I brought these together as PNG files, overlaid them, and said, generally, this was kind of a good composition. On the right, what you see is the first version that I did in Illustrator. I say the first version because actually I had done, secretly, an entirely different video. But I wasn't very good in it. I wasn't happy with the way the video turned out, and I decided that since I really wanted a good video, even though towards the end of the first video I kind of get a little tired too, I would actually do the whole thing again from scratch. So I deleted this one and I made another one, and I thought it'd be fun to show you just how different or how similar the second version is, which is what you saw in the video. So if I come over here, you will see, boom, right there. So this is the first time I used Illustrator for it, and this is the second. And what you'll notice is that while we're using the same clip art, the same basic composition, I made a lot of changes. I actually started looking at how the mountains relate to the castle. I added a moat, I added a drawbridge, I added a doorway. Actually, I added quite a bit, but I also changed the way that this part here was connected. I changed the way that certain things were laid out. This part, the negative space here, is irrelevant. But if you look at the way the trees are different, the way that the light goes through them all, a little less green, but I think it works here. The other thing that you're going to notice that's different in the version that you saw in the videos is that in the video there was a tree that went up like this, but after reviewing it, the missus told me to get rid of that tree. And since this sign is really for her, or for her to paint, that's what we did, and so I got rid of that tree. So this is the final one that we made. One modification to the last video. So I went and I decided to cut it on the Glowforge. All right, wrong button. So I went and decided to cut on the Glowforge. All right, I waste a lot of wood. Don't worry about my wood wasting. It's good enough for now. I'll reuse my scraps later. But I wanted to see how efficiently I could do. You saw in the last video, we knew how many pieces it would be. So the first one took about 4 minutes. And you can see here that, of course, the more dangerous areas are those little tree limbs. Now, this is important because the question was asked of me, could I make this smaller? And the answer is sort of. Some of the items won't scale down well. Now, if I'm cutting this out of MDF instead of out of this type of plywood, it probably will work a little bit better. But right now with this, that's what we're looking at. The next piece I did was 11 minutes. This was the big one. And it has the doorway, and it has the drawbridge, and it has this, and it also has the name in there. And of course, remember, I put the name in here so I'd have a jig to position the name a little bit later instead of just having the letters. That was 11 minutes. And then for this one, I have 5 minutes and 32 seconds. And then for this one, I have 4 minutes and 30 seconds. And then for this one, I have 6 minutes. And then lastly, I have 5 minutes and 31 seconds. And that's all the pieces. Right about 37, 38 minutes. So we'll round it up to 40 minutes of cut time. If I was using a different material, if I was using a thinner material, that would change. So let's start off and assemble this on the round. Obviously, this is a 20-inch round, so I did not cut that on my Glowforge. It's also a half-inch thick, so I did not cut that on my Glowforge. I cut that on my Maslow CNC maker-made CNC cutting machine, so that's how I made the round. Not 100% round, which, there you go. Now, I did find out that I had made a mistake, and if you watched in the second video, I saw that there was a sliver, and I tried to fix the sliver, and I thought everything was fine. It turns out I was wrong. It turns out in the second video, when I did fix the sliver, I actually had created a non-flat shape. So while these two pieces over here, this piece here and this piece here, are a flat shape, I accidentally went like this. Now, in my version of the file, just so you know, I went back and I resliced it, and this is good. Is it going to make a difference? No, because it's obscured. So this is one of those things that kind of irks me. So we'll deal with it in this one, but if I ever make another one, it's been fixed. On top of that, it's already obscured. On top of that, we put the trees. And again, right over here, you can see this is where that one tree I had chopped off from, because it usually went a little higher at first. To that, I add the castle, the doorway, and the moat. And to that I add the drawbridge and the castle, and there's little spacers under here to keep it floating up. On top of that, I would put the words Arthur in the jig. I then take the jig off very carefully. I lift it up, and voila. And this is where my part of the job is over. Except I felt that you probably would be really pissed at me if that's where I ended the video. Look, burnt wood. Listen, this was never meant to be just the ending point. So let's go over and talk a little bit further. The Mrs. Painted. Now, this is not the kind of paint job she would do for the Joe Average. This is actually for a very good friend of hers, which is why she went crazy with the sponges and the layers. And oh my God, she literally probably painted this for 10 hours. So I know how much time I put in here in terms of designing it. And I know how much time it took the laser cutter to cut it. But oh my God, so she sponged all that. And that's not even done yet because we're missing Arthur. Now, what's funny for me is that when she went, she told me it's done, it's painted, now come glue it. And it was one of those things where I knew it was going to be a little bit tricky to glue, and especially when you see what she did with Arthur. She pre-painted all the letters, which is going to be great, but could I get the jig to still work? So what she did is she pre-painted all the letters, and what I did is I put them in the jig, but I put them up so they floated a little bit, so they were outside the jig. They needed to make sure they'd push through. And then we applied all the glue, and then very, very carefully, luckily they were still wedged in place, I dropped it in place, and very, very, you've no idea how long it took me to very carefully push things. And remember, when I talk about scalability, I could probably not go any smaller on this font, or I'm going to lose that line there with the H. But when I was done, it popped out beautifully, and there you have that word Arthur coming out. And what this means is, it's the big reveal, the big reveal, the big reveal, voila. There it is, the Arthur sign, complete, soup to nuts, absolutely done. Now, let's go back over this real fast. Because of the licenses of the clip art, and I bought stock art, well, I'm not going to lie to you. Because of the licenses of the clip art, I am not allowed to sell this file. But we did find out I am allowed to make these. So if you're curious about getting one of these pre-made, perhaps just pre-cut as a kit so you can paint the damn thing yourself, because she is not going to paint one of these for you. Now, that being said, if you go through how much materials are in this, it's an interesting one to think about that. Some people think that a good rate would be about $1 per minute just for using the Glowforge. So you're looking about $40 in what we call like maintenance fee on the Glowforge. And then I think there's, 6 pieces of wood, which is about a third of a 4x8 sheet of plywood. So we're looking at anywhere between, $15 to $20. Let's say $20. I think let's round that up to about $10 as well. So just in wood, right, you're looking at like $30 in wood and $40 in Glowforge time. That's $70. That doesn't include anything. That's just material costs of a sign like this. Now, some of you are going to go, use cheaper wood. I could use cheaper wood. I'm just going with what this is right now. I know people are going to ask that. Now, that doesn't include any of the design time. The design time is all on me. But let's say for a moment that we were to look at this and go, all right, how much for the painting? Well, I told you, she painted this for 10 hours. There's no joke. There's 10 hours of painting there, and how much is her painting worth? If I want to be conservative and say $15 an hour, that's at the $150 paint job. You could sit here and say, paint it flat. I'm sure a lot of people would just paint it flat. Matter of fact, I thought that's why I designed it to be painted flat. It would look good painted flat. It would be a few hours less at that point. Oh, and then there's, how much glue did I take to do that all? And there's no labor in there. So, when you look at something like this, you think to yourself, oh, what a great little craft project. I have to go, This is beyond craft. This is a nice art piece. And the funny part is I just want to leave off with this. Arthur is due next month. Arthur hopefully will have this sign for a very long time. So I hope Arthur appreciates it. I hope you appreciated the video. And again, if you enjoyed this video, I am JaredX2 on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, everywhere, Twitch. And if you're interested, message me and we'll do more videos soon. Thank you very much for watching and have a good one.